Earl's new remix.
Look, this is one of them songs my mom would definitely have. Like,
It's originally by Billy Ocean. So he contacted Billy Ocean and got the rights, and he dropped this song last year. But now he turned it into a club mix. This is Freaking Paradise and whatever the hell it's called. I can't even say it, but know what his name was. His name was Billy City Lights, showing me the way. Taking to the front. Hey! Got somebody. Hey, Facebook user. Your name ain't on there. You should be dancing.
it ain't on there, right? Just say, hey, yo.
Yeah. Somebody that doesn't subscribe.
You got that one. We live everywhere. We live here, there, there. Hey, Lily.
It's just one of those nights. One of those nights feel like getting down. Yeah. It's just one of those nights. Y'all feel like getting down?
Yeah.
This this new song, this new remix is by Lassiter, lead singer of the Intruders. And I happen to AR for him, and this drops, and drops tomorrow. And I have exclusive rights to play it now for the club.
So y'all heard it first.
You heard it first.
Because it's
Here.
one of those nights.
That's right. It's long too, so you can get your groove on. Make sure you come and hear it on the 24th at Lassiter's house. He told me to invite you.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the invite. Hey, cuz.
Y'all know I can't dance.
She said, hello, get it, mama. You at the Coomfort Level Podcast.
She said, yeah. Nice. Hey, thank you.
Right there. Right there, see down there. Just say show.
Oh, no, that's, Mm-hmm. She said, I see you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
what y'all think about that?
Yes.
Y'all can get that tomorrow. Okay, I got it now. Y'all can get that tomorrow. That's my guy, Lassiter, lead singer of the legendary Intruders. Okay,
woo.
That's right. He dropped this song last year, but now this is a remix, and he got a couple guys on there. Frankie Paradise, he's on the cover. They put this thing together, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know, that's my graphics. You know what I mean? So it's going to be dropping tomorrow. You can get that on all platforms. Lassiter.
Let's go.
Okay? Make sure you get that. Welcome to the Comfort Level Podcast. It's me, Janny Schmanny. I'm the hostess. I'm here with my girl, Mogul Queen. That's right, in the building today. And today, we're going to be pulling off our traumatic brain injury versus trauma care seminar. Yes. We got some door prizes and some fun. We're waiting for some more people to pull up so we can get that started.
Yes.
But in the meantime, and in between time, y'all know I'm going to tell y'all that I'm not going to go through the whole spiel, but we are a community center in the spotlight of Camden, New Jersey.
Yes.
Here at Dare Academy, WCMD Media. Yes. So make sure y'all checking us out every day, supporting, subscribing, sharing, and doing that. We're on all them social media platforms. Yes. All of them.
Yes.
All of them. The Comfort Level Podcast and WCMD Media. So all you need to know, well, you need to know more. We got a host of podcasts here. Tell you what we got. I already told you. The Comfort Level Podcast, the 856 Entertainment, Midday Madhouse, the Wake Up Show with IMD, iShine Radio, The Kennel, and that Dumbass Radio Show with Big Dummy. So make sure you come and every day, and check out these podcasts. You know, and if you miss the show, don't worry. We're recapped on all those social media platforms. And you can also find my podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, okay? So, want to tell you guys a little bit about recovery, okay? And I want to see if Janika agrees with me. Okay. And then we're going to talk about it before we get started on the seminar.
Yes.
So recovery is the primary goal today for people who have experienced trauma, their families, and their care providers. Recovery does not necessarily mean complete freedom from post-traumatic effects. Recovery is an individual experience and will be and look different for everyone. In general, recovery is the ability to live in the present without being overwhelmed by the thoughts and the feelings of the past. Trauma recovery is best to be looked upon as a process that is worked on over time and in intentional stages. The reestablishing of safety is the first and most central step in recovery, separate and apart from whether the details of the trauma are even spoken or not. And without further ado,
Well, I mean, listen, before we go into the seminar, y'all already know I'm Jernica Quinones, better known as Mogul Queen. It wasn't until today that I noticed that I have really created two identities, because today I went into a meeting and I decided I'm going to use my actual birth name, Jernica. I'm not going in as Mogul Queen. No, because I mean, of course, I am more aware that I am not two people. I'm one person. So and I don't go through no identity crisis. So when I get in there and I say my name, the people didn't know who I was. It was like, oh, they just brushed it off until the end. And then they asked for my social media sites. As soon as I say Mogul Queen, they say, "You Mogul?" I say, "I'm Mogul." They say, "You Mogul Queen?" I say, "Yes." They was like, "But you just said your name." I said, "I know that's not my real name. Of course, my real name is Jernica." So, y'all, my real name is Jernica. It's supposed to be in Spanish, so it's Jenica. It's not really an English name, but whatever. Anyhow, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in with us today on the Comfort Level Podcast. Shortly, we're just waiting for some last minute people to show up because we have actual in seating and we doing it live for y'all. So we waiting for the people that are coming in person, because we actually are giving away door prizes and we're actually want engagement. And this is your time to ask any questions on how to basically get yourself the services that you need. So the seminar goes traumatic brain injury versus trauma care. Then the second segment will be mental impairment versus abnormal use and behaviors. What comes after that part? And then we're going into inform versus reform. So, it's a 3-part component. And as much as is entailed, I try to leave it brief for everyone to understand, because mental wellness is such a big component that I'm only covering like this small piece of it all. But every week, me and Janie on the Comfort Level Podcast, we try to break that down from all aspects, from all points of views. We love engagement. We want to hear the people call in or actually comment. If we missed the comment, we will definitely come back to your comment.
yes.
And we will definitely highlight it, because no question should will go unanswered. More importantly, today is basically to inform the people, because so many of our inner community are going either misdiagnosed or undiagnosed, especially as children. And children are already showing that in mental impairment. They're already showing developmental disability from from mental health aspect, but they're being overlooked and they're not actually getting the proper resources and the proper care that they need, which leads them on to going into having long lasting effects. So I have an MQ Consulting agency here in the city of Camden, where most of y'all know that I help create legal documentations on behalf of the parents for IEP services, 504 plans, whichever has to happen, so the child can be able to create a safe barrier in school to be able to get their education and not be pipelined to prison. But every time I try to tell one of my clients what was going on, they were kind of looking at me like, well, what does that mean? Or they just didn't have enough information. So it basically opened up something in me. Like, if I'm going to be doing this, then I need to be educating them on what's going on neurologically with their child to be able to assist them better, because the more you know, the more you can help someone. So and I don't like keeping nothing just a secret just because I found out this information or anything like that. So we actually broadcasting it to the public. And getting that information out there is very critical to get that information out there right now, because as far as we've been seeing a lot of increase in criminal activities, a lot of runaways, a lot of suicide, all kind of things going on, depression, so much stuff we've been seeing increasing since the pandemic has started, that what better time than now to basically open up this platform, and let's talk about it as a community. And those who know, and those who don't, I will be able to keep on giving the information. I do have a case study called "I Never Wanted Her Beauty to Fade." It comes from my co-chapter, my co-author book out of there, but now it's being used as a case study so we could identify trauma early in children, because the earlier we could identify the trauma, the earlier we can get the children to help, and we won't have to worry about the long-lasting effects that comes with them living with this illness for so long. That can be treated. Some things can be treated and they can go away, but the longer that they stay with it, the longer the effects be, and it's hard to recover from. So, I have to thank the Comfort Level Podcast for opening up their platform to let me come on here and actually do the seminar today. So, we'll be getting started momentarily. If you would like the case study and you wasn't able to be a part of today, I can send you in the PDF. If you would like, you could go over to my Facebook page, Mogul Queen, MOGUL. Queen, and then my profile has my actual logo on there for my consultant agency. You can inbox me your email and I would definitely send you that case study, just to be able to have it on hand. It's actually a timeline of my life and what I've been through from childhood all the way to adulthood, and all the barriers and all the family dynamics I had to overcome to basically be where I'm sitting at today, to be able to give you all this information from a neurological standpoint. It's easier for somebody to go ahead and always say, oh, I think I have PTSD. Oh, I think I have anxiety. Oh, I think I have this. But it's better for you to know who you are and what are you going through, and more so how to basically control it. Because at the end of the day, outside of medication, you still have to know them barriers. You still have to be able to say, I know who I am and what I could take on and what I can't take on. So it was more important for me to just be able to open up that platform and tell people that it's okay to be you, and it's okay to have something going on that you don't know is going on, and be able to get assistance. So, we're going to roll it out here today. This is my second actual seminar. And the first set of people actually thought that it was great information. And it came with proof through the school system that it actually works.
We may have saved one young life.
Yes, we have saved one young life. So that's my whole big goal right there. The mission is to save one young life. And I think we have completed that. We have door prizes, and the door prize, you will actually win. Don't tell them. Don't tell them?
No, don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
You got to be here.
Yeah, I'm saying they got to come on in. You still got time. Anybody that lives in the city of Camden, you still got time to get here.
That's right.
And be here. There's plenty of seating. We have actual refreshments. We have hoagies. We have soda. We have chips. We got everything going on.
So what we're going to do is we're going to play another track. So try to play a little bit of inspirational music.
Yes.
And
get ready. Go shortly.
Give until about 5:30 or so.
Yeah, 5:30.
Or however, because it don't stop whether nobody's here or not. I mean, we have people here.
Yes.
But whether we fill up or not,
right?
We're going to fill up on social media.
Yes.
We're going to fill up. So, let's see. We're gonna take a little break. And you also can call in if you have any questions or you want to talk, or you have a topic concerning any trauma or TBI. All right, so that's it. We're going to play trash. Let it rap. I'm serious.
More, 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 more. I just want more. I just want more. I don't have to be a star to be on the court. I don't got a ball, but I still want to score. Now, I don't want it all. I just want more than before. I just want more, more, more. In this world at night, no mother, not a father. Just my sisters and my brothers. And we started from the bottom. And because that older sister, the youngest was adopted. And his grandma died when he was 16. That way he was little proper. Yeah, my grandma died at 16. It's funny because that's when I started crying. Yeah, cause the youngest couldn't fall back like it's hanging on the counter. Yeah, my brother would not fall back. Though he got pops in that collar. Tryna put a word like it was Rihanna. Hey, my brother died at 19. Now I'm constantly reminded that the shooter left the scene with no trace. That he shot with a revolver because he was trying to rip this Louis and a Gucci, Fendi and a Prada. Thinking that if he left us flyers, it could ease the pain from all the problems. I don't have to be a star to be a court. I don't got a ball, but I still want to score. Now, I don't want it all. I just want more than before. I just want more. I'm living. Like I said, with the competition, constructive decay, I leave a Christian the opposition. Brother died, never mentioned. Brothers got convicted. Another brother was with me. Free my brothers, I'm missing. Decided to my sisters and pushing me in position, reminiscing, living life. But when me and broke got evicted, I got great intentions. Gotta get through what I'm living. Vivid visions, visualize. I'm trying to illustrate this image with vivid visions. Again in the competition till the opposition is no longer in existence. Wake up. And thank the Lord for my assistance. I'm chilling with Jenny till it's ready. We gon' get it for my daughters and my nephews and my nieces and my children. See, I got family and I hate we need billions. Same nigga, I ain't changing for no Benji. I show love, but it depends on how I'm feeling. Niggas, what's up? Reminiscing, roaches running on the dishes, rodents running in the ceiling. Young and poor, try and get it. Young and reckless getting left there by the women, but still had good intentions to be one in life. Fuck the rich, I won't be another statistic. And in the journey district, the objective is to win it. The objective is to get it. Can't be sitting in a cell while you're seven nigga shit. I don't have to be a star to be a court. I don't got a bar, but I still want to score. Well, I don't want it all. I just want more than before. I just want more. It was supposed to be signed. Three rappers on the radio spitting these graceful rhymes. Spilling lines from other artists that's supposed to be signed. Spilling lines from another artist that's a perjury crime. Wait, that's the question for the streets. Who hotter than me? When they answer for you, little, I'm hotter than the heat. They know why you got a meal, cause he took off his seat. No, he a meal. My nigga's hungry and ready to eat. That's why any motherfucker that want competition. I see shit in black and white just like the composition. You're the one that's two against us, you the opposition. Came to this game and I ain't had shit out of pot to piss. So these other niggas different, man. These niggas is for bitches and these niggas Hello Kitty. Same nigga, I ain't switching, ain't shit going to change except for my way to live. I don't have to be a star to be a court. I don't got a bar, but I still want to score. Well, I don't want it all. I just want more than before. I just want more. Now I just want more. Now I just want more.
Nika, she says she's here, Crystal. Crystal says she's here. Who's Crystal? Hi, Crystal. She's coming to get you now. And that was a selection from Trash out of Philadelphia. It's called I Want More. He made that back in I don't know, 2019 or something like that. So unpublished track. It published it once, but I'm not sure if it's still out for you for purchase. But we'll see. We will see. You guys, thank you for bearing with us today. Thank you for bearing with us. We're gonna give you one more track while we're getting it together. This is called Write Your Story. It's by Ken Rock. What I'm doing is I'm trying to play some music by the lyricist. You know, these words give inspiration. So let's go with that. Oh, come.
I can turn my phone down.
Yeah, we'll give you a raffle ticket. Do it prize for the do it prize. Here you go. Say
Thank you.
when you get a chance, Versailles, grab a seat over there.
They like stop playing, write your story.
Probably gonna start after
make
the
it hit
song.
home, make it feel your story. They like stop playing, write your story.
You don't mind if I take a picture?
Not at all. Anything you want to do. We can take some pictures together and everything. Oh.
I'm the only one that control my life, but won't let my future be.
I don't care. So that's called the comfort level. We regular, we hungry.
Unnecessary knowledge become a godhead because the clock racing. Hands moving yearly, I can let it be another one of those that can snare me without me taking all the proper precautions to get rich, staying locked in, focused. That's how you get that shit closer than I ever been. I got offers on my table, shit only coming once, so while I'm breathing and able, I'ma build my fucking own empire, my own label. Show that my purpose and meant well. Mom, I'ma do this shit for you, I'ma do it well. Never thought I see the day where I'm giving farewell. She left a nigga dead inside, man, that shit hurt like hell. She left a nigga dead inside, man, that shit hurt like hell. Think I really understand why shit happened the way it did, and I was forced right into a child's worst nightmare. Think about it, damn, all the shit I experienced was put to the test as a young and a living experience. She broke me in the way, but overall I'm still fighting. Let these balls put the strength on the palm feet like lightning. Catch my drift, feel my pain, just listen. Till you criticize, but all pay more attention. I never asked to be a part of this shit. God showed me I had to tell, I had to acquire it quick. For this production, no one shot by 30. For those who ever doubted me, our vision was blurry. Never seen a young nigga for the goal that I am. But you chosen my man, how you couldn't see him, my man? Get fucked up when the devil dropped the knife in your hand. From all the backstabbing to backbiting. And this is coming in its truest form, I'm not lying.
About to start.
Really turned into a fucking tyrant. And I'ma have a fucking back.
Oh, here's your
like a peasant.
door prize.
Without water, hot and thirsty. Y'all understand the monster y'all created. I gained the strength to overcome that sedation. Now all my shit is no more the land. Got a daughter on the way, so I'm going super saiyan. Lyric daddy gonna make sure you good. I'm not playing. Teach you what it is to be a lady, be a real woman. Know what I'm saying? Like stop playing, write your story. Better tell your story, make it hit home, make it feel your story.
Everybody, I don't know that
Write your
name.
story. Better tell your story,
That's
make it hit home, make it
Judah
feel your story. Like stop playing, write your
Judah
story.
Priest.
Better tell your story, make it hit home, make it feel your story. They like stop playing, write your story. Better tell your story, make it hit home, make it feel your story.
Crystal Nicole Campbell Mitchell.
Oh yeah, where's she at?
She said she here. Go outside. She gonna go. You gonna call her real quick?
Yeah.
All right. So that was Ken Rock, Write Your Story. That's a great inspirational track. Write Your Story. That's what it is. You want me to play one more? How many of y'all know anybody who have a middle child thing going on? Yeah, middle child syndrome.
You already know I'm the middle.
You the middle child? I got something for y'all right here. I got the middle child remix right here for y'all.
So what's the middle
Y'all the middle child? I'm the baby.
Yeah, so what that mean? I'm the one that get hated.
Are you the middle child? I thought Deep was the middle child.
I was indeed. No, I'm older
I was there. I saw you come out.
And that's deep and older than me my whole life. Or before first my whole life.
You came out last because I know what you look like because D came out and this is on podcast too. I don't care. When she came out, we was like, oh my God, she looked like your dad. And then when you came out, I was like, oh my God, she really looks like. Y'all know how y'all looked at it a little different when y'all was there.
No, I know.
Madam Stylish, Middle
So,
Child
like,
remix.
My whole life,
This is hot.
Know it.
You gonna say where she at?
No, I'm trying to figure out because I'm not middle child. So what's the middle child?
I gotta turn it up.
What's going on with the middle child?
Listen to her words.
It don't matter.
Listen to these lyrics.
I don't know if I'll send it anyway.
So it's a J. Cole remix.
Middle child manifesting my dream. No longer thinking about limits and meanings. No longer sticking me into your box. I'm a different shock and I'm top of the queen. Heavy lies ahead, there is the crown. Seems they only kick you when you're down. Love is all you need to flip a crown. Time for unity is ready now. And I'm tired of this shit. Couldn't get down with the popular kick. I was bullied so bad, made me mad. I was sad. I woke up and I just started bullying shit. And depression's a hell of a bitch. Group of the people, they so underwear. On the inside, I'm screaming and dancing for hair. 6 feet under, I'm drowning in tears. Reaching the grass for anything there. Hold myself out of the enemy's there. Putting petitions and all of my prayers. Reaching out, oh my God, can you hear me? So much pressure, my people, they need me. These disasters, my people, they need me. Try to attack, I get close and they leave me. Hurt on my motherfucking sleeve and it's bleeding. Sick of explaining, you never believe. Break down my touch and I break the wrong thing. And I know I am made. Harvest is right, I'm alone at the table. Anything I do, I can have that shit. See, you were trying to stop me, but you won't win. Bitch, I made it up because I was born with it. You just gotta play this, I'm crazy. Shit, I'm saying, baby, she is niggas head. You hurt me, I didn't see it perfect. Cause they gon' smoke up all your weed, they mad. People always took a poor hand on me, and I ain't trying to be like when I'm trying to stand out. I'm rapping cause I got shit to talk about. You favorite rappers repetitive with the mouth mouth. Tired of liars lying about the shit they write. Can't respond to you, I knew that you be lit the night. How to prove it to the feel the light of them. So you was empty as the whole behind. All process is finding them, I can work with them. This is the victory back to the day you never.
Get him, girl. No, stop!
So when it's over and my hands are on another rubber, I gotta put you in an album, but you will recover. You think I'm holding you perfect, your purpose is annoying. Other people can see it, but they're not acquainted. People alone are rejected, the heat is rising now, but you would love to withstand whatever come about. I know you're only, but I couldn't let them leave you yet. Negative energy will mess up how your moments act. I know you're only, but I couldn't let them leave you yet. Negative energy will mess up how your moments act. You wasn't ready yet. Had to unbind the ties and lies, you wasn't good enough. At this time, the line designed and created except for us and my mind confined conditions they force fed to us. This life life was mentally cut, thoughts stuck. And now the mind is a sitting duck with no bones. You fall like a pop without holes in it. No notion to hold the potion. Forgiveness is like an ocean, it's flowing from coast to coast. But most are breaking down, so they only poke your toes in it. But I ain't open it, goes again, I'm burning it. Feeling free again, feeling like I'm breathing me again. Never know what to say, or you can go through the pain again. You gotta dance in the rain, joy in the pain. In the yang, one and the same. Niggas been counting me down, I'm counting me in. Middle toe, and I've always been late. I'm a foot on your head, and I'm leaving the past in my soul. You have to start, that was a joke, but I got the last leg. Got tired of living fast, so I asked God to show me my path, and I'm doing this shit.
Let's get it! Madam Stylish, folks. Madam Stylish. And that is the Middle Child remix. J. Cole beat.
All right. We have some more people rolling in. We got more people on the way, but I wanted to get started because we have people here.
Let's get it started.
We are rolling live on all the platforms, and we have in-person seating. As y'all know, I am Jernica Quinones, also and better known as Mogul Queen, as I found out today that nobody knows me by Jernica. I am Jernica. It's the same person, Jernica Mogul. I am a nurse, author, co-author. I am a big international special needs advocate, which includes trauma care. Um, More so in the advocacy of saving one young life. Everything that I do is targeted to saving one young life. I have a nonprofit organization called Rare Jewel Nonprofit Organization here in the city of Camden, where we raise traumatic brain injury awareness for children that suffer from it to near drowning. We also collect and we distribute life jackets and get them out to the children for free, 5 and under, or if they're in the spectrum, they have any disabilities, we actually mail it out to their homes, just so we know that they're safe in swimming. Because of that, I also do pool safety education and actually how to properly install the life jacket, because I felt like that was something more important to talk about, being as though we're giving them out from the organization free. A lot of parents don't know that if you do not install the life jacket correctly on a child, they can still drown. So I had to go in and do that education. My organization kicks up for March 13th, which is Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Day, all the way to July, which is the actual day of my daughter's incident. My daughter actually had a near drowning, and all I kept on hearing throughout her process at the beginning was, did she have a life jacket? So that's why the life jacket is so important, and I took the time out to educate myself on how to basically not only distribute the life jackets, but also educate the parents on the life jacket. So July 8th is her blessed day. Then we do a big celebration with that. We do have a couple of things going on, which is this included. The seminar, come, I believe, May 21st. We're going to be doing a collection of life jackets. We actually take one day where I collect all the life jackets. Anybody that wants to donate the life jacket on the on the Facebook page, Rare Jewel Nonprofit Organization, you will find a link. It's linked to Walmart. Walmart has all of the different styles of life jackets. I try to make them affordable, so like that people can donate. Every life jacket given is to save one young life. So
Can we donate money to something we had the time to go out?
yes, so that can be done as well on that day. I do put up my Cash App link, and if they don't want to donate the life jacket, they can't find the life jacket, which some people do. Last minute, forget, they can donate it, and then I'll go out to the store or I'll go online and I'll get the life jacket myself.
Ding, 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 ding. You just won a prize for engagement. That's what I asked the question.
Thank you.
So now it brings me over to the MQ Consulting Agency, because my daughter suffered from the traumatic brain injury, but my older children suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder due to the near drowning.
Right.
And every time I went out to try to seek help, I couldn't find it. More importantly, trauma care is not a real big component, especially here in the city of Camden, where we have a lot of people that suffer from environmental trauma. The city has funding, but there's no trauma focus on these children and what they have endured just being on a day-to-day basis, going out in the streets, and what they have to visually see or take into their home as a family dynamics and basically go up with it in a generation where it don't even be looked at upon as it being wrong, but the state says it is wrong. So I started off with doing the chat and choose, where I basically was telling the school district, like, listen, our children are not ready to go back to school, not only because of the pandemic, but what came out of this pandemic. We're going to be seeing all these increasing things, and I believe in like facts. I don't believe in my own opinion. So I even brought in somebody that works for FEMA and said, look, listen to what she's saying. This is what's going on up there in state. In the government, we will see increase in suicide. We will see increase in sexual ideation. We'll see, even decreasing of school dropout. Like, we'll see all these kids dropping out. So I'm like, look, here goes the proof. So I still wasn't getting nowhere. I said, you know what? These children still need help. So I'm gonna start the MQ Consulting Agency, and I'm gonna basically hit on where it's gonna hurt at. I'm going to go ahead and take every child that's going through a mental impairment that has been either not underdiagnosed, not diagnosed, or misdiagnosed, and I'm going to actually get them the help that they need under the Special Education Act, which is actually a federal law. Not only that, I'm going to write out the legal documentation on behalf of the parent and say, hey, I'm representing this child. This child is now my client. Here it goes right here. You have 10 days to respond back. Proof is they respond back in like 24, 48 hours because I'm hitting them with all facts. But then now I have to deal with the parents not understanding what is going on with the child. Why did you get that assistance so fast for them? Why did they see it? So now I'm like, oh my God, I have to open up a seminar to explain this to the parent, what's happening neurologically with their child when it comes to this component of mental health and trauma care. What is so crucial? Why they misdiagnose it themselves? Because the parents don't see it. They just think that it's out of control behavior because that's what they label it in school. Something happened to this child for them to act abnormal. Nothing just makes a child act abnormal because the proof is on the growth and development chart, they missed it because they're going by the growth and development chart and they're going by a hierarchy of needs in the district. They're checking off your child. They're basically, checking in and seeing if they're going on that scale. If they're not, instead of them helping them, they're not because it's more a mental issue than a physical issue. So now we have traumatic brain injury versus trauma care seminar. Let me see. No, this went all the way to the back. How did we go all the way to the back?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Now, MQ Consulting Agency presents is going to play the song. I don't want it to play the song. We done played enough songs. Okay, so it says this seminar is to dive deep into the neurological process of the mind and be able to identify if a person is undiagnosed. Also showing how a person's neurological process can impact so severely the brain can be injured internally. The neurological process which makes up the brain could not be surgically fixed in this case. So you can't even fix what's going on neurologically. And more importantly, it's just what it is happening internally that you can't even see it going on. So you can go about your normal day after seeing any incident happen and think that you're okay, but your mind is still processing it. So under TBI, there are many diagnoses under TBI family. The one that we will be learning about today is altered brain injury. From the moment it comes positions, it impairs its function and could be permanent. 1, the altered brain injury is a closed brain injury. It happens when there is a non-penetrating injury with no break in the skull. So in other words, there is no cut or wound. So this is it right here because it's an altered brain injury matter that we're talking about under the traumatic brain injury, which is something that happens to a lot of people, but they misdiagnose it. A lot of people in our community always being misdiagnosed by an altered brain injury because, like I said, we grow up with it. So they don't never basically diagnose it. And a lot of the psychologists or the psychiatrists here are just that. They're not trauma focused to basically identify that. So when it comes to acquired brain injury, there are many types of acquired brain injury. As an ABI is an injury to the brain that is not hereditary, congenital, degenerative, or induced at birth. So this could be passed on in the family. So this can't be passed on in the family, excuse me. It doesn't just go away. Typically identified as traumatic or non-traumatic. In other words, a non-traumatic brain injury also has direct impact on cells throughout the brain because it attacks the cellular structure. A non-traumatic brain injury has the ability to speed to all areas of the brain, while the TBI only affects the concentrated area. So altered brain injury basically could go and impact any part of your brain. The traumatic brain injury comes from lack of oxygen. That's only going to impact one part. But the altered brain injury is basically something that suddenly happened to you that might shock your brain. That it shocked you. Like that's why they used to call PTSD back in the day shell shock. You didn't have PTSD, you were shell shocked. But that's why, because it shocked the brain. So No, you gotta go back.
No.
Where's it at?
More.
Yeah, go back one.
Back one. Yeah.
No,
That's
you going up. You're not going there.
I did go back. That's it.
No, we didn't. I didn't read it.
There you go. That's where we was. That's where we was. Listen.
Oh yeah. Wait.
You're here, down the bottom.
We have more than 3.5 million children and adults sustain a brain injury each year. That's what it comes down to. The statistics say that 3.5 million children and adults sustain a brain injury each year. But that's people that was actually diagnosed. So if 3.5 million people in the world have gotten the actual diagnosis, then just imagine how many people go untreated. Same as us, basically, like our children fall, they get an impact. They can have a knot outside of their head like this. We tell them they all right, we put an ice pack, we go about our daily lives. But other people actually go ahead and find out that they might have an altered brain injury because they got a sudden impact to it. Now you can switch over. So the short and long-term effects can be headaches, confusion, memory problems, and nausea. That can be easily misdiagnosed as like a cold, flu-like symptoms, anything. Of course, we see that on a day-to-day basis when we go down to the hospital. They tell us we got flu-like symptoms in an instant second.
So when you having like the headaches and confusion and stuff, what you just said, could that be like a form of depression?
Well, it's just the neurological process is basically the cells is degenerating.
Okay.
So they don't even know, they don't even have outward.
Your body's getting sick.
Yes, it's starting to get sick, but they don't even know it. They probably even think they got a cold going on. The long-term effects, it is also common for people with altered brain injury to experience increased fatigue, that's mental or physical, and some slowing down in how fast they can process information, plan, and solve problems. They may experience changes to their behavior and personality, physical and sensory abilities, thinking or learning. All that just comes from an ABI, which is an altered brain injury. It slows everything down. And the behavior, it could go from behavior to actually being your personality. So now we go on to trauma. Trauma, it is what it is. There's no way around it. When something happens that is traumatic, it is traumatic. The way I view something traumatic might not be the way you view it, might not be what other person view it. It's all in the neurological process. How did the brain process it? So let's go into the word trauma before we transfer over to the next topic. The word trauma here in our conversation is about traumatic brain injury. It is a physical, not psychological trauma. Non-traumatic brain injuries can be every bit and emotionally challenged as a traumatic injury. No matter what, they demand prompt treatment. Prompt, fast. For those who don't know what prompt means, that means immediately, right there and then, you should be going to go get treatment.
It simply means if somebody's having a problem, they need to deal with it fast.
So we can go over to the next slide. So evidence-based. On date December the 3rd, 2020, the author from spinalcord.com said there are many types of acquired brain injury. It is a broad class of brain injuries that are neither genetic nor acquired during birth, and typically identified as traumatic or non-traumatic. These injuries produce a variety of symptoms that range from moderate to severe. In most cases, the causes of the injuries readily apparent, with symptoms beginning shortly after the initial injury. For some ABI survivors, some symptoms only appear months or years later and may be intermittent or unpredictable. Now, you can go for a long time with just this one little incident that happened, such as a car accident. You could have had a car accident today, but months from now, you all of a sudden just get panicked that one day and don't want to get in the car. You don't want to drive. You don't want to take off. You feel like you just want to stay home. Now you're overwhelmed about it. You don't know what's going on. You call people up and you tell people, I don't even know what's going on with me. Like, I don't even feel like driving. I'm scared to drive. And that happened to me lately, because that's what somebody's going to ask you, like, what happened? I don't know. Well, that's it right there. So to continue on, they also demand prompt treatment if you suspect someone you love has suffered a non-traumatic brain injury, or if you now notice change in mood, cognitive, personality, or consciousness, sudden personality change, prompt treatment could be life-saving. Some things that could give you a ABI from them says that you can get it from infections, tumors, stroke, locked-in syndrome, intravenous malformation, brain hemorrhage, loss of oxygen, dementia, surgical complications, and other causes. So a lot of these causes can bring up an ABI, and these are just the first ones. So it's just is what it is. You have to get the treatment to be able to not only know what's going on with your neurological process, but to be able to save yourself physically. Because nobody knows it more better than you. So as soon as you start seeing these symptoms, they advise you to go get prompt treatment. Trauma care is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Physical injury related to or causing psychological trauma. So now we're transferring over to something that might be psychological versus the other word trauma, which wasn't psychological. It was more so neurological. So we're going to move over into that one. There's plenty and many traumas we could go into, but we're sticking with the neurological process of it all. I just feel like you have to understand that this is going on in your mind way before you start showing outward emotions. So it's just better for you to be aware of what's going on from sudden symptoms of nausea, maybe coming from something that you can process neurologically. So the three main types of trauma from the psychological is acute trauma, results from a single incident, one time, that's it. You might have had one car accident. You might have been trying to cross the street one time. Some car might have been trying to hit you. And one time you might have gotten into a small accident. That's acute. It's a result from one single car accident, one single walk across the street. The second one, you can have a chronic trauma, is repeated and prolonged, such as domestic violence or abuse. When we go into the chronic trauma, this is where we get a lot of misdiagnosis and undiagnosed, because a lot of people that suffer abuse don't really give them treatment. They might just give you a care and a case study to basically go into court and go against the victim, against the plaintiff in the case, shut case, keep it moving. But what do you do with your neurological standpoint? How do you take care of your trauma that you've been through as the victim and the survivor of the situation? So then we go into complex trauma is exposure to varied and multiple traumatic events, often of an invasive interpersonal nurture. This is something that a lot of the children in the city of Camden suffer from. Reoccurrence of trauma, multiple traumatic events. And one day a child can see somebody get hit by a car accident, somebody get shot, go home, mom and dad fighting, that dad leave the home, never come back, and now have to deal with their own issue because mom don't even want to talk. That's a lot to go through in one day, one setting. Imagine it repetitively every day. They have to go through this, then they have to go to school, and then the school system is saying, you can't act like this. You can't be this way. Stand up straight, do your work. We don't care what happened out there. You need to check out of what happened out there. You need to check in and do your schoolwork. How? How can a child move forward doing that? When basically now at this point, I said we passing the trauma, we're going into an altered brain injury. Their brain had just been severely impacted by a lot of trauma. So on a day-to-day basis. What does trauma look like? Trauma often manifests physically as well as emotionally. Some common physical signs of trauma include paleness, lethargy, fatigue, poor concentration, and racing heartbeat, also known as anxiety, and panic attacks. These 5 stages can also bring on other diagnoses. So now, the first things that can happen with the trauma is those things right there. You can go from being lethargic, You can go from having all of these things going on, but you still don't know what's going on. You can have anxiety, you can have panic attack. You still don't even know why is your brain processing it. Why are you having this neurological thing happen to you? Well, the diagnoses that come out of that be denial. This can't be happening to me. Like this cannot be. Like you'll lose reality real fast. Because the first thing that children do, they like to check out of reality so they can start being denial about what's going on. Anger, why did this have to happen to me? Bargaining, I promise I'll never ask another thing if only you will. A lot of that happens in the family dynamics in the home. The children will try to step in and think that that was their fault that the parents argued in the first place or the parent didn't come home. So they do a lot of bargaining. A lot of children love to do bargaining because they feel like they just want a safe place and they want to be loved and accepted by both parents, not just one. So they do a lot of bargaining all day long. Depression, a gloom that comes from having to adjust to so much or so quickly. Depression is one of those things because now the child has seen all of that. Now stepped into the school system because, of course, this is why I started the whole seminar. Now they stepped in there and now they have to basically convert back and have to like try to forget what's going on. That's something becomes depression because there's a barrier there. You want me to not even face my reality that I just had before I stepped into this door. And then now you want me to face the reality of what's going on here. How can you even put that together? When a person as an adult can't even put that together. We call out. We call out. We call out at work. We quit. We do whatever we got to do. They don't have that option because, of course, they have us over top of them as an adult and a parent, a caretaker, saying, no, you need to stay in school. But we're not knowing that their neurological process is basically going unbalanced.
And you just keep taking
So then there's acceptance. As sad as it may sound, it's easier to accept or may find yourself in a spiral, especially undiagnosed. If I went and I seen somebody get shot and 5 more other people seen somebody get shot, the first thing they're going to do is tell me to accept it. That's the worst thing that you can tell somebody is to accept something because you can't tell them to accept anything that isn't normal. You're telling me to accept something that was abnormal? That's I didn't sign up for that. That should not be going on in the community, especially from a child. You're trying to tell a child that they have to accept what just happened at home. They shouldn't have to accept that. So a lot of things is generational too. You know what happened before they was born to their parent, then the parent brings it on into that home, and then that child, when they grow up, bring it into that home, and it becomes normal, which is not. So the psychological diagnosis is depending on the level of trauma, you will end up seeing other psychological diagnoses, such as schizophrenia. It's a disorder that affects a person's ability to think, feel, and behave clearly. After all that we mentioned, the 5 things that happen right after their first, the cells start to degenerate. Then 5 things could come from that, or 5 symptoms. All of that starts taking toll of your body. Then after that, these are some of the psychological diagnoses that you can get from out of trauma. Not all of them. Most of the most important ones, the ones that's on the top list. They could come with schizophrenia and panic attacks. You come with a whole bunch of them, but we're going to stick to the basic ones right now, which is schizophrenia, a disorder that affects a person's ability to think, feel, and behave clearly. The exact cause of schizophrenia is unknown, but a combination of genetic, environmental, and altered brain chemistry and structure may play a role. So we can say that someone with schizophrenia definitely has an altered brain injury because the brain has been so severely impacted that now they're basically being labeled schizophrenia. The exact amount.
I said they're out of reality.
Yes. So schizophrenia is characterized by thoughts or experiences that seem out of touch with reality, such as disorganized speech or behavior, and decreased participation in daily activities. Difficulty with concentration and memory may be present. So All of these things can be happening to someone with schizophrenia. Now, we already talked and said that that can happen impactful right there and then. It can happen months or it can happen years later that a person could come up being schizophrenic. In the city of Camden, only God knows how much we witness on a day-to-day basis for somebody to later on come up with that diagnosis. I feel like that's already too late. Moving forward with another psychological diagnosis, bipolar schizophrenia, also known as manic depression. It is a disorder in which episodes of mood swings range from depressive lows to manic highs. What is manic? Manic episodes may include symptoms such as high energy or reduced need for sleep and lost touch with reality. This one is a major one because it comes with depressive moods, depressive episodes. So they're automatically depressed, but now they have basically went into an increase in depression, where now it's giving them basically bipolar schizophrenia. This can have very high, like you'll talk to somebody, they say they haven't slept in days, and then as they not slept in days, they start basically losing touch with reality. A lot of them commit crimes. A lot of them do a lot of heinous activities and don't even remember. Because then when they get incarcerated or they become back in touch with reality, they didn't even know that they had committed all of those crimes. And then it's very hard for them to tell the court system what happened that made them lose touch with reality, because the only thing they're going to look at is the criminal matter. They're not going to look around at your back and what happened in your life, how much abuse, how much environmental poverty, how much you have sustained throughout your time and trauma. They're just going to look at that one thing. So if you start experiencing that you're not getting enough sleep and you lose touch with reality, seek medical attention fast. It'll save you a long life of criminal for real incarceration. Another psychological diagnosis, the very last diagnosis on my topic, and of traumatic brain injury versus trauma care, and the very least to be diagnosed medically is PTSD. PTSD is a disorder in which a person has difficulty recovering after an experience or witnessing a terrifying event. The condition may last for months or years with triggers that can bring back memories of the trauma accompanied by intense emotional and physical reactions. 3 million cases diagnosed a year of PTSD. This is the one that basically always touches me the most, because for a very long time I went undiagnosed with PTSD because my trauma happened so early on. By the time I was 2, I grew up with it. So now we go back to why more people know me by Mogul Queen and not by Jernica, because I suffered from that identity crisis early on. What PTSD had given me, it gave me the outlet to be somebody. I lost touch with reality. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I didn't want to be Jernica. So I finally got diagnosed with PTSD in my 30s, which was not that long ago. I'm still in my 30s for anybody who want to know. So it's something that I love to speak my truth on, because me speaking my truth, I would love to keep on saving that one young life. The first part was in memory of my mother, which I call her Queen Mother, because of course, if I'm a queen, I got to put her as Queen Mother. My mother, Milagros Quinones, she went undiagnosed and untreated with her trauma. So I had to put that in memory of her. Now we're going into mental impairment versus abnormal use. Now that we have known all of that, schizophrenia, bipolar, PTSD, the acute symptoms, the chronic symptoms, the severe symptoms, the neurological effects, the altered brain injury, after all of that, that all comes summing down to you having a mental impairment.
I'm trying to figure out which one I fall under.
Right. We all got them.
So now, in the mental impairment, in the context of the Americans with Disability Act, as of 1990, any mental or psychological disorder, such as mental retardation, emotional or mental illness, and specific learning disabilities that substantially, limits one or more major life functions. So anything that basically takes away a life function is basically gives you a mental impairment.
Right.
If you're not going day to day how you normally was acting before you ran into trauma, then now you have a mental impairment. It only takes one thing that's unusual or different from the normal to be considered that. Now, abnormal use is not normal. When they say abnormal use, it's just that. It's something that you normally don't do, you normally don't see, you don't normally associate with. But because now you have these diagnoses as being untreated, or you undiagnosed, you just running around what I call rampant, you just thinking you okay, especially here in the city of Camden, you just be like, man, he crazy, leave him alone, like, or man, that's my boy, like he crazy a little bit, but he good, like he cool.
Yeah,
You can
but
be
we
cool
not
and
helping
still
them.
have a mental impairment. I am one of them people, you know.
But we not helping them.
Listen, they ain't help me, but listen, I was cool though. I was cool until I found out I wasn't cool. Like, you know.
Right. A lot of us is running around thinking we cool. We not cool.
Right.
Okay, we not cool.
So it's not normal. Describes a state, condition, or behavior that is unusual or different from what is considered normal. Anything that is not considered normal by the laws, the rules, the regulations of here, this United States, is abnormal. So some of the abnormal behaviors we're talking about when it comes to a mental impairment, because we say abnormal use, but then out of that comes something called maladaptive behavior, which is the same thing as abnormal use. It's just basically in that terms and that lingo, it will be called maladaptive. But we're going to use abnormal behaviors just to keep everybody on the same page, because everybody did not go to any school, a background like that. Let's just say that. So a lot of the behaviors that become abnormal is drug abuse. It's one of the big ones. Once the mind loses touch, it wants to cope. It has to find a coping mechanism. Especially the more you go without sleep, you want to find some way to sleep. That's one of the biggest things that us as human beings love or need to have is rest. When the mind becomes restless from any of the traumas, it likes to shoot over to finding something. But if it's not normally used as medication, it's called drug usage, which makes it an abnormal use. Let's put it that way. Because for a long time, marijuana, CBD, whatever you want to call it, was an abnormal use for people with these conditions. Now it is actually a normal use because now it's a medication. So we go into drug abuse, mental abuse. That's just basically what it is. I'm hurting, I want you to hurt. Hurt people, hurt people. So that's not a normal use, a normal behavior. You can't hurt somebody because you hurt. All that does is create a generational of hurt. And nobody wins in that case. And nobody's happy. And then you have created a generation that now hurt people. So that's an abnormal behavior. Domestic abuse, two partners, they link up. Now we went from the family dynamics of what was going on at home. We talked about that earlier. Parents and always fighting, they always arguing. Now the child has grown up. Now the child partners up with another individual, male or female. However, they link up. Now they think that it is normal for them to basically create this abusive relationship, and that it should thrive under the abuse, but it shouldn't because it's an abnormal behavior due to trauma that they have witnessed. So then we go into increase in sexual desires. People always tell me, well, how do you look at a murderer? Hurt. because hurt people hurt people. Do you consider him guilty? Absolutely, because he committed a crime. But was he really guilty neurologically? No, because he had to lose sexual reality to make him be able to become that person that he had to become, which was an unaddressed issue. So another thing, an increase in sexual desires is rape, molestation, anything that was basically not consensual. And a lot of people who suffer with trauma, they love to have increase in sexual desires. It takes them away from reality, the sexual desire of it all. And then on top of that, it creates a hurt for the other person. Hurt people, hurt people. So trauma unaddressed hurts people, whether it hurts you in home, whether it hurts you in society, whether it just be hurting, anybody, they don't care. Hurt people, hurt people. So another one is personality abuse, which is narcissistic. They like to abuse people's personality. So now they're kind of like judgmental and trying to figure out how to basically control you. Because they now see something in you that you're not, that they want, but they can't control. So they become narcissistic. And that's personality abuse. You're abusing my personality. You're abusing me to get to do what you want me to do. So that's an abnormal behavior. And then identity crisis. Now I've been through so much trauma, I don't even want to be me. I can see the next girl doing so good. For instance, I'm gonna say I'm Marty. I became her. I probably now done cut my hair. I probably now trying to look to see what kind of clothes she's wearing. I became her. To the point where now you can't tell me I'm not her. The same like me. I did not like being called my real name. That's why I'm glad people used to call me Nika, because people didn't have to call me that. Every time they called me my real name, I felt like I was going back to my trauma. Don't call me that. If you didn't know it, don't call me it. It wasn't until I went to treatment myself that I said, I can't be two people. I can't, there's no way I could be two people. That will definitely not work. Yes, you can be Mogul Queen. That could be your stage name, however you want to see it. But you have to know that you one person. So me and Mogul Queen, we battled it back and forth for a while, because Mogul Queen, she could do all this, but Janika couldn't. And I would never say who I was. I would just always introduce myself by Mogul Queen, because that's who was really personally there. But I had to come back and say, you know what? It's no way. As my mood started changing and as I was addressing my trauma, and I went from undiagnosed to actually diagnosed, getting treatment, and became well, I was like, you know what? Well, how am I supposed to create a household name if I'm not even using my real name? And it wasn't really until today I started noticing that I really was losing touch with my identity, because nobody noticed that I was really Jernika. They only knew me by Mogul. So it was really crazy today. And it was crazy enough because when I introduced myself at the table, everybody stayed quiet, nobody said hi to me. When the meeting was over and I got up and I said, I'm Mogul Queen on Facebook, everybody started shouting, hey! That was when I really like, okay. All right, I'm just Jernika from now on, because people were starting to know me too much by just only Mogul Queen, and that's just crazy. Like, I don't even want to go by that no more. So we went into identity crisis and things like that, because now this is the reality of it all. We've been through all of this. We talked about it, and this was all from a neurological standpoint and what can come out of just the neurological process of it all. Then after neurological process, the diagnosis is, and then after the diagnosis is and you mentally impaired, what other increased things could come? So you could be schizophrenic and have identity crisis. You could be schizophrenic and narcissistic. You could be schizophrenic and have increase in sexual desire. You can be bipolar and have it. You can have a lot intertwined into one. That's why, of course, more people get diagnosed with more than one thing. The most thing that I take away, and I always tell people, if we learn and we educate each other on what that looks like, then we don't have to go to the normal usage, which is medication. Because reality is that this is our reality. What is happening is in reality. The medications itself take you out of reality or tell you that you have to need this to face reality when that's not true. So I myself put myself up, and I was the one that basically did it the first one. I don't know if anybody else did it. I wanted to know what was my triggers, what made me go in to them places with my PTSD. What made me become combative when I felt like I wasn't basically being understood? What made me hurt people when they hurt me? What made me talk to people like that when they hurt me? So now I created barriers. I don't let nobody into that barrier. If I see you going into that barrier, I now have created exits for myself. What are you going to do? You're going to stay there, which is called a fight or flight. Are you going to fight or are you going to flight? I choose flight now because fight only got me to the next place, which is down at the precinct, which is down going to criminal court, which is now trying to explain to them that they have basically crossed the barrier into my safe place. And that's why I acted out in those situations. But was that normal for me was going to become normal for me to do if I kept on going like that? And that's not who I wanted to be. I'm not an abusive person. But don't cross that line. But I also needed to put up that barrier. What could take me there? When is the time to go? Who to hang around, who not to hang around? What do I want to do to be able to condition my mind and what not to do to be able to condition my mind? So what conditioned my mind was talking my truth. That's why I have the book Era the Beginning. Let's go ahead and let's start the healing by just putting it all on books. Let's just go ahead and just do that. Whether the whole world knows it or not, I just felt like I let go of that end. Because that was the old life. That was the old me. That was not the healed me. So let me start there. Now, of course, it has took me on a journey more than what I had thought I was going to be. But the book entails so much because it even entails how I even became suicidal twice. That is the ultimate thing about a mental impairment, about having all this go on. The ultimate thing is death. You can basically lose your life young from it. So 2 times suicidal survivor. Clearly, it wasn't my time to go. But clearly, I didn't know why it was my time to go until I wrote the book. Once I wrote the book led me to Louisiana as a co-author. Then, of course, I had already started the nonprofit. Then now it had started the MQ Consulting Agency. Then moving forward, now I represent an international special needs advocate, including trauma care, where I go around and I basically put that enforcement by the laws that were put in place for us. But if we go misdiagnosed or undiagnosed, the funding stays right there. And the people that created the funding, basically the only ones who benefit from the funding that is not being used, especially in the educational setting. So I say, wait one moment. This is something I could do because I'm creating a barrier. I don't have to talk. My legal documentations are in place. And basically the law is here to protect these children. Let me go ahead and protect these children. And now the consultant agency been up probably about 2 months now, 2-3 months. And we have serviced a few children, and we've actually had change happen. It's one thing to have a resource for data information and collection of numbers. And it's one other thing when the resource actually makes a change. I love change. Change brings hope. And in a hopeful community, you bring out a healthy, living child that goes from informed and not pipeline to prison, which is basically where they'll be heading with their mental impairment. Before I go into reform, Era the
Any
Beginning.
questions?
This is my book.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm gonna read the bookmarker since you gave it to me. This book is based on true life events. It was created to bring awareness to how trauma can not only have long physical effects, but very intense mental effects called post-traumatic stress disorder, and also known as PTSD. As we journey through Era the Beginning, which is 1 out of 3 books, you will get a glimpse of some of the direct effects of trauma. The word era is defined as a place and time in someone's life, and the graphics in this book, you will notice the line running through the word era. The line is also known as a symbol to cross out an error made. In this book, you will quickly find out how both era and era can be joined as one. Take a journey, travel through time, travel through this little girl's life, filled with mental anguish and trauma. Then it goes into the definitions and so on. So I basically didn't put no introduction of me and who I was as an author on the back because I had nothing. Like right here, I was a blank space. I was in a blank time. I was not the author. I was just a girl trying to explain my truth. The case study that y'all have today is out of the co-author book that I did in Louisiana called Overcome the Mall and Be Great. Someone by the name of Beatrice, she invited me to be in the book, Overcome the Mall and Be Great. We landed in Louisiana. We launched the book out there. I took it and I made it I made it a case study because I want people that doesn't suffer from trauma to be able to identify early in children with trauma so we can be able to get them the help that they need. So of course in my co-chapter book, I was shot by the age of 2. Now you see me up here and you think I look well, I'm not. Sometimes even when I'm doing seminars, I have to shift to the right because I have weakness all on my left side. Sometimes, some days I have more weakness on the left side than the other. I have fallen plenty of times because my weakness goes from one instance to the other. Is what it comes with it. Because the bullet went straight through my stomach, pierced an inch away from my spine. I have nerve damage going from my spine out into the left side of my hip, up into my fingertips. My fingertips is actually numb because of the degeneration of the nerve damage. It is what it is. But overall, I'm still able to stand up here and speak my truth to people that want to know more about it. And I love doing what I do. And I love helping children and saving one your life. So when we go into reform, if in my case studies, I've noticed, and I am one of them, that if a child doesn't succeed in the educational setting, which is provided for them, which by law they should be in there getting from 8 to 3, however the time goes, they have successfully joined racism when they drop out, pipeline to prison. There's really no way around it, especially for the males in the city of Camden. A lot of them suffer from incarceration as early as 12 years old because they're dropping out earlier and earlier. So to reform them is basically taking them back to what's going on, give them back into reality. You have a mental impairment. You have to be basically reformed. Reforming them takes trauma-focused therapy. Reforming them is taking them back into their educational setting. Reforming them is giving them their high school diploma. Reforming them is giving them love and attention they need to move forward because it was never their fault that nobody basically was able to identify it because it's so normal here in our city. So now that we know how to reform one person or one child, that every time we have the seminar, my goal is to now educate you that when you see a parent struggling, not knowing what's going on with their child, and they basically heading towards prison, stop and say, hey, something is going on, neurological process with your child. This is not a normal behavior between the growth and development chart, which the state goes by every child. If you have a child and you take them to the doctors, they always tell you where they fall out in the percentage of the growth and development chart. If your child is overage, underage, obese, not obese, need a diet, don't need a diet, they're taking records of all of that. But what they don't really take records of is the mental impairment part, because that's something they like to overlook because it is. So that's basically where my inform versus reform come in at. Now that I have informed the general public on what this looks like neurologically, the reform is that we won't see so many children go on pipeline to prison, especially our children of color, and we lose them to the system. And then they find out who they are in there. But then now they feel like the system failed them. And now when they come out, they have created a life of criminal activity and trauma and within the criminal activities and creating more trauma for themselves and ultimately still dying, you know, whether it's in incarceration or to the streets, or more importantly, just from basically suicide. Because now they really like can't take no more. So it even happened to me, like we go back to the suicide part. I couldn't take no more. I did not want reality to be reality of what was going on. It was going on way too fast for me. It was, reality after reality, trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. I just hung it up. Like, you know what? And when I woke up, I was still here. So now I thank God I'm still here because I am able to talk about it and I'm able to basically educate y'all. So if you want to, I put my contact information on there. They're on all the case studies. You can contact me, my phone number, email. I'm always open to help any child out, whether it's with resources, whether it's in an educational setting, whether it's trauma-focused therapy. I work closely with another nonprofit called Saving Grace Ministry. On Tuesdays, she has trauma-focused therapy programs where she takes the children from 5 to 8, and she actually gives them the platform to be able to get mental wellness. And on Thursday, she does the same thing for parents, so she can be able to change the family dynamics in the home. So I do the seminar part and the educational part. She actually does the work on reforming and making sure that the children are being more stable. We are as far as going into creating a registry where we will have our children, that if they come in contact with the law, we will be able to basically step in as a mediator and say, hey, this is one of our children. This is what's going on. Don't take them. Don't put them in prison. We got them. We're going to reform them. We're going to make sure that they keep on going, because a police officer just coming out to a distress call, they don't know that the child has a mental impairment. What they see is a criminal activity going on, but they don't understand that the child really has a mental impairment or developmental disability. I always tell people it's 5 children in this world. You can have a developmental disability child. You can have a mental impaired child. You can have a physical disability child. You can have a child that basically is the normal child. And then you can have a child that basically is just one of them children that has the septic child. The one with the physical disability can have all of that going on too, but because they physical disabled, they just going on for the physical disability. And then if we reverse it, all the other children could be combined as one too. You can have a child that has developmental disabilities, mental impairment, and have abnormal use, all kinds of stuff in that one child. So I tell people all the time, and I'll finish with this one. One of my clients' mother called me, and the child has a long history of mental impairment. The child's only 11. No, she started when she was 11. Now she's 13. She just turned 13. And the child had identity crisis. So when the mom would leave, she would go into the room. She would put on the mom's clothes. She was acting like the mom. So the mom had asked her, why are you dressed up like that? Why do you have makeup on? Let me see your phone. So now she's like, no, you're not seeing my phone. She said, yes, I am. So now, while the mom snatches the phone, she runs into the room and grabs her mom's most important paperwork, throws it in a tub full of water. She turns on the water, throws it in there. Now the mom's mind is distracted. Here, the phone back. I need my paperwork. While that's going on, she now grabs the phone. She runs out the house. She ran away. Mom get in the car because now mom's trying to go look for her because this is a long history already going on. Mom gets in the car to find her, to look for her, and she's in the back seat. Mom sees her, she's in the back seat. So she doesn't go ahead and alarm the child. She wants to get to the child to a safe place. So now she goes ahead and she's driving to the police station. She gets out the car. She goes into she thought she was going into the police station. When the daughter picks up her head and notices they at the police station, she jumps in the front seat, turns off the car, runs out the car, and runs away again. So now she doesn't go into the police station. She's running behind the child. So now they running around the police station. You understand what I'm saying? But it's the one thing that's missing here. Nobody in that police station knows that this child is out here with a mental impairment. They could come out here because she's already physical and combative. They could come out there any kind of way they want to. So now the mom is scared. She don't even want to really run after the child, but she needs her keys. So now she goes ahead and she gets the keys from her because she says she's praying, and all of a sudden the girl falls and she's basically the keys went in the air. She's on the phone with 911 telling them she's around the back of the police station. They comes and get them. They transport them to the hospital. Now because now the mom is panicking. She's like, look, my child has a mental impairment. Please take care of this issue this way. So now they go ahead and they take them down to the hospital. Now what happens down there at the hospital is that if you don't tell them, if a child does not tell them that they feel like killing themselves or killing somebody, they're deemed safe to go home. No matter what just happened along the way of how she got to that hospital with that child. But because she doesn't feel like killing herself today, she can go home. So now they check them out. They go home. She called me. She said, hey, I need your help. Like, I can't keep on doing this. They keep on calling DCMP on me. They keep on removing all the children out of her home, thinking that it's me. She's true. It's true. So I said, well, how does the school system look at it? She said, well, she do good in school, so they don't think that she needs an IEP. They got her on a 504 plan, but that's not really working. I said, can I tell you something about your child? She said, what? I said, your child's premeditated. She's a premeditated mental impairment. She has mental impairment, but it's premeditated. Some children know how to turn it on and off too. That's why we have 5 different kind of children. So she said, what do you mean? I said, well, you took her phone, didn't you? She said, yeah. I said, what did she do when you took the phone? She said, she ran and got my paperwork. I said, Dad, that's where it's premeditated at. She already knew that if somebody did something to hurt her, she will hurt them. She already comes up with different ideas of how she's going to hurt her mother because she's hurting so severely that she wants to hurt somebody, but she can't physically hit her mother. So she found other avenues on how to hurt her.
She got what she wanted. She got the phone.
She got what she wanted. But the situation here is that it's a crisis situation because we have now a premeditated mental impaired child still running rampant. Everybody in the family is suffering from it. And because she doesn't want to commit suicide, there's no extra treatment for that child.
But also, she could be smart enough not to tell the doctor that she want to hurt herself or somebody because she knows the outcome.
She's premeditated already. She's been doing it for a while. The kids start catching on fast. Wait, you not going to take me? If I don't sit there and say, all right, and she got to take me back home, I get to go home another day. They don't really want to leave the house. You know, like even with the little kid situation in LA, he took every blow to the head, everything sustaining him. He went through so much cruelty in the home, but he still stand up with that picture on Mother's Day and took a picture with a smile. And the boy, they said when they did his evaluation after he died, they said his brain was basically a mush. So he was taking all this severe impact, but he never wanted to leave the home. He still loved his mother. So in reality, kids don't ever want to leave their home. That's supposed to be their safe haven from the beginning. So, there's a lot of work here to do. And it's easier if we just basically come together as a community and start saying, okay, talking open about what's going on. What issues do we have at home? What's the family dynamics? The home. What resources can be out there? The city has got all this grant money. I was down there at a meeting today. They're definitely coming up with ways to use it. But we have to come out as a people and speak about it. You know, we can't keep on being,
Right.
we can't be indoors still
Yep.
holding on
Right.
to depression. We can't still be indoors holding on to undiagnosed or untreated situations that can be possibly save our lives.
Don't be
You know?
afraid to speak out.
Right.
Let
Right.
somebody know if you're not feeling
Mhm.
well. You know what I'm saying?
And
Right.
the city is
Suicide
not
ideations.
going to implement the programs if they don't have people coming forward. to
Right.
use it.
People think it's an embarrassing thing, they want to talk about it.
Right.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
People just sit back while this stuff is going on, and a lot of our people, they in denial. Like I tell my mom
I
all
ain't
the
gonna
time,
be
like I
embarrassed
said,
'cause I
wrong with you,
wanna
like
be
you don't
helped.
think right. She be like, you don't know what you talking about. So a lot of our people just don't want to face the fact that something wrong.
Well,
It's
or could have already lost
embarrassing,
touch
but you
with
can
reality,
find-
right?
Right.
They could have already lost touch with reality because it's such a norm.
Find that one person that you could be confidential with. You know?
Well, I say the most confidential person is looking towards getting yourself a trauma. That's the most important thing. A trauma-focused therapist, a trauma-focused psychiatrist. Everything is trauma-focused because it's trauma that we're
So
going through.
do our insurance pay for that stuff? Like if I want
So-
to go for a trauma focused therapist, because I know I got some stuff I need to deal with.
We all do.
Yeah, like how we go about, financially taking care of that, because I know we're not.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad that you
do
did
we
say
just
that.
pop up and say I need to talk to somebody? I mean,
No, you know what?
Or do we
First
have
and
to be really
foremost,
sick?
it wasn't until I came to her seminar where I was able to identify
right.
what was happening, because I get like that. Sometimes I may be sitting in my zone and I don't want to be around people.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
That's
shut
part of
the-
your illness too.
Yes,
Mhm.
I shut down. I don't want to be around nobody. I don't
Social,
wanna talk
yeah,
to nobody.
social,
I go in the house, close the door.
isolation.
People might be ringing my doorbell, talking about
Yeah, how
they're
do you
busy.
get
I act like they're
authorization
not
for
even
that?
there. Like I can hear the doorbell ringing and everything, and I leave them sitting right there.
Mm.
Like that.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
I look out the window and see them there. Like nobody told you to come over here without telling me. I don't feel like being bothered with people, and I shut
Yeah.
them down.
Yeah, and it's better to do that before you lash out on them
That can
and
be
be
normal.
in your hurt place and hurt them.
I mean, you set your boundaries from the beginning. Don't call without.
Right.
Don't
It
call
is
without
normal,
calling.
because you better not pop up in my
Right.
house.
Exactly. That's why I said
Y'all know
that
how
could
I
be
am.
normal.
Sometimes people,
My door daddy open, my
normal.
screen
That's
door.
conditioned
Don't pop
in
up
here
in my house.
in the inner
Yeah, that's why I
community to
said
not
that's
do
what that could be
Yeah, I don't
normal
play no
because
games.
some of
If
us
I ain't
do
invite
like
you
our
over here, you ain't call me and
privacy
tell me you
people
coming,
so-
don't come to my
Right.
house.
I don't want to hear somebody coming to my house gossiping about their breakups and all this stuff. Like,
Right,
don't
when you
bring
going
that.
through
Yeah,
something.
when I'm
Right.
trying to like stay strong for what I got going on now, you dumping all your crap on me. Don't come over here with
Right.
Stay over there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that shit heavy too.
Right.
Exactly.
Now you made me tired after I was trying to get my little energy up. Now you dump this load on me. Now I'm going to sleep. Like, no, people come with too much.
Yeah.
And you're definitely right. You're definitely right. My children suffer from PTSD. That's why for a long time, Didi, she's one of our good friends, like a sis. She for a long time, like I don't ever have dinner at my house. I don't even bring people over my house because I have created such a safe haven for my children. Because they all suffer from PTSD, they need somewhere to run it
Right.
and be able to basically have that safe space where they can just be totally silent, whatever they need in their rooms, They don't need me over top of them with the music bumping like my mom used to have us with the music, have a party every Saturday. That was her outlet. She danced until she felt like she couldn't dance no more, and then she'll get some sleep, and then that's how she coped with her mental impairment. Everybody has their ways of coping. Yours is just that you don't want to be bothered when you at home in your safe space.
Right.
And that's okay because you created a barrier for that. When I'm out in public, girl, tell me something and tell me in brief, I'm ready to hear it. But if I'm in my house, don't you come over here telling me what you just happened because I'm in my safe space. I'm in here.
I go to the stores with headphones on. So I don't hear somebody yelling at me, calling my name. I put my headphones on while I'm in the store. I don't hear nobody talking. I don't
This is my world. Don't
Right.
jump into my space.
I don't want to pick up nobody.
Why do they always ring your phone as soon as you walk in the store?
I don't know.
No, I don't like
Just
when people call my
ring.
phone with my Bluetooth on in my car.
No.
I put my phone on do not disturb. Y'all, do not call me. I know you don't know when I'm driving, but I be looking at. So now my phone go on do not disturb in the car. Don't enter my head with my
Right.
music because my music is my safe haven. Like I love before I go to work, I need music. On my break, I'm in my car.
Me
listening to
too.
music.
And that brings about mental wealth.
But I don't think,
Because you learn how to cope with
Uh-huh.
things that stress you out. And like for me, it's music work, but I love being around people too. I have all the gatherings at my house, but don't show up to my house under them. But if I'm having a gathering, all is welcome. Like, come on.
And see, and my PTSD tells me everybody is looking at me. Everybody's a target. Like my PTSD is saying everybody's a target. At any point in time, anybody in here could trade on you and go ahead and they could hurt you. So when I go out, it's like, hey, and keep it moving and running the house, like, whoo, I'm safe. You know, like I ain't have to fight that person ain't have to fight me. But then when I was going to sleep, now I'm asleep, and then I hear a gunshot go off. So now I'm definitely off of my rockers, what they called back in the day at the shelter. I'm off of my rockers now. Now I heard a gunshot. Why is nobody jumping up and actually calling 911? Now I'm like, did you not hear that gunshot wound? Why you ain't, why I'm lost such a reality because now
affect them like it affect you.
And they looking at me like,
yeah,
what gunshot wound? I mean, what gunshot? Like, what gunshot went on? I'm like, y'all didn't hear that?
nah.
So then I was like, okay, you ain't hear that? I'm just going back into my room. Then now I hear a knock at the door. Get the door! They knocking. The kids right there playing the game. Mom, ain't nobody at that door. Yes, they is. No, they ain't. Nobody's knocking. Nobody's shooting. What's going on here? Well, reality is that right before I got shot, somebody knocked on the door. So it took me back into that PTSD moment. And that I was losing touch of reality and going back into that moment that I was shot and that what happened when somebody knocked at the door. So I was becoming unsafe in my own home.
It's just, I feel like it's important to heal them. Like I'm 36 and it took me in my my older years, it took 4.5 years for me to get to the root. So when you were talking about, like figuring out what triggers you and all of that, you have to know what happened to cause that trauma. You have to, and you have to, like you said, you have to reach out. You can't keep like that. I used to be a runner too. I used to isolate all of that, but now I'm able to speak openly about these things. I work with kids that have mental health issues, that have physical disabilities, things like that. But it took a lot. And I had to get out of that environment as well too. So I moved. I left the state 5 years ago. I went and got help therapy. I went and like that diagnosed with trauma. I had the mental impairments, but I still have emotional impairments. And those things are important to know that you have these things. And like I said, set boundaries. You have to set boundaries, whether it's people, whether it's a place, whether it's like that, like cutting your time short. You can't be around people too long. Cut that time short. Look, you got to understand that about me and don't push me. Don't push me back into that trauma because I'm telling you now. And that's why like that, because of the healing, it's easier for me to say that up front. Like, look, I'm telling you now that I don't accept these things or I don't like this. And if you do this, this is what's going to happen afterwards. But like I said, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of healing because even that, you can be diagnosed, you can be going through these things, you can be getting help, but then still be stuck in that because you have these people that are triggering you. You have these events that are happening. You have all of this in your life. Like that. I don't have a break. I can't catch a break. Why is this happening? Why are they doing this to me? You have to. You got to accept that change. You got to get the help where you can get it. And like that, just know that you can heal. You can change. You're allowed to change. And you're allowed to set those boundaries. Nobody can set those for you. So you just have to do that. But
gotta be the best person that you can be.
Yeah, of course. And the same, even with my kids, my son been through things that he shouldn't have had to go through. And I know he has emotional impairment. I know he also has other things that can trigger him. But the same thing, I'm in another state, getting him diagnosed, getting him treatment, getting him programs. I come back home here and there's no program set in place. So you gotta wait on a waiting list for him to be diagnosed. Why do I have to re-diagnose him if he was getting therapy
Right.
to show you this is what's going on with him?
We're talking
So now-
transfer.
Yeah, so now you put in putting him in the environment that he's not used to. He's used to being homeschooled. Can't homeschool here. It's the city. You can't do that. So I'm like, okay, put him in city schools. Now he's getting bullied. Now, because he knows no harm. He doesn't know that everybody's not your friend. He doesn't know. He doesn't have that boundary. He can't set that for himself. So now you got the cameras up. Now you're watching out. He can't go outside. And this is a kid that's used to, okay, we're going to the park. He runs in the field. Like, he go do his thing. He's being a kid. But it's so different. And that's the thing that I'm starting to see, that like that, the environment can change a whole lot. And with the kid that's going through trauma, like she said, they need that space. They need that freedom. They need that time where they can be themselves and not have another parent. Why you let him jump on your furniture? It's just furniture to me. But he ain't breaking nothing. He ain't hurting himself. Like, what's the problem?
Right.
You know?
A lot of us came up like that. You know, some of us had it easy. Some of us just had strict parents that was like, every little thing. And you can't do it, kids like that.
Yeah, you can't, and that's
they don't learn anything.
With that healing too. Like, I have an 18-year-old, I have a 16-year-old, and then I have an 8-year-old. Time is spread apart, and you see, like, dang, like every child is different. Every child's needs is different. And I do have a middle child that has the thing where she's like going through, oh, well, I can manipulate. I know that my mom don't feel like being bothered today. My little brother is doing his own thing. So I'm not going to take my medication. I'm going to go do drugs. And not think like, okay, there's consequences to everything you do just because I don't see it. I'm very spiritual. So, and that too, like my kids know that. And I'm allowed that space in my home. So she'll try to take advantage in that way as well, where she's out there and she's like, oh, I'm just going to go spend the night at this person's house. No, she knows that I'm very strict about that. I want to know who your friends are. Like, how do you have friends in Camden? And we were in South Carolina for 5 years. Whose house you going to?
Yeah.
We just got here 2 months ago. Like, what are y'all doing over there? Like, it's not happening. She don't understand that I've been here. I've done this. I've been in this. You don't want those things that are going to come because of the actions that you're choosing to take right now.
Right.
So, but I was scared too.
It's environmental problem.
It is.
Like, I sit in big meetings with, and they all say, they said this city is full with money, with grants, and because we have we consider the most criminal and everything in the whole United States. So they give us everything to try to improve it, but we still have that environmental poverty. But what gives us environmental poverty? It's how many people we have running around here rampant with undiagnosed and mental environments. Right. That's what it is. And one day me and my friend had this discussion because he gonna say, why you said on that podcast that everybody in the streets has a mental impairment? I said, well, we do. You do. Like, I'm like, you want me to break it down for you? Why you have a mental impairment and you're basically misdiagnosed or undiagnosed? I said, how many times you been in Costa Rica? Man, more than enough. I said, and where you at right now? I'm in these streets getting exactly. It's a problem because the first time you encounter a criminal activity, it should have changed your mind about not going back out there to do it. But now the mental impairment part kicked in, and you don't care about the consequences. That's a mental impairment.
And not only that, where we hurting our people, because at the end of the day, we tend to forget that when we in these streets and we think that we hustling and we doing all these things, that we making money, we put money in our pockets and all that. But what about the lives that, even though they have choices that do drugs or whatever it is that they're doing, we still provide and something to them to be able to do it. So your hands is just as dirty.
Exactly.
So what do you think that's okay?
Because hurt people, right?
Exactly.
So you don't care about it, like, oh well, like I'm going through environmental poverty, and of course, it starts to become more so that it increases the environmental poverty because now that I caught this case, I can't get a good job. I don't have no high school diploma. I have no educational background because You know, my family dynamics led me to dropping out. You know, by the time I was 16 years old, I was smoking mad marijuana. I smoked marijuana and cigarettes. I smoked more marijuana than cigarettes. I forgot I smoked cigarettes from how much marijuana I smoked. But that's because I needed something to cope with it. And then the more I became more healthy on my own, starting to get that healthiness, but it wasn't no treatment. I basically stopped smoking cigarettes and stopped smoking marijuana. And it was a lot to do with my ex, because I was trying to figure out how I was with this man for so long. They was 10 years older than me. And I felt like the marijuana was like clogging my judgment. So I decided to stop smoking the marijuana. You know, because and then I left him after that. Like, listen, you ain't gonna work out. Let's go. But now, you know, it's been over 20 years, you know, that I've stopped smoking cigarettes, I stopped smoking marijuana, and I faced it head on. But I kept on going back into my mental impairment, not doing drug abuse, but I still kept on going back into my mental impairment, kept on dragging me back in there. That I couldn't cope with it, but I knew I didn't want to go back to drugs because that was only basically covering it and making me do dumb decisions, like chilling with him because, you know, me and him had something in common. Come to find out, he was schizophrenic. So my life was in danger as well. You understand what I'm saying? He was off his medication. It became that. My life became in danger with him. You know? But hurt people, and also hurt people understand hurt people. So I understand. They started to become like, I understand why you just acted out. Because I want to act out too. I didn't physically hit him, but he physically hit me. So, but that wasn't right, clearly. So I had to basically let that whole situation go. But it didn't land me in no better situation because I kept on running into people with mental impairment just as well as me.
Because you only attracting what you are. So
right.
I hate when people say opposites attract. No, opposites don't attract. You only attract to people that are like you, wherever you may be. You might not be as bad as they are, but it's something in that person. There's something in that person that you will relate to. I don't care how small it is. Y'all are making a connection based upon where you're at up here.
I don't care where you move.
I'm not saying that what you said is not true. I mean, I'm about to tell you. I mean, I just feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I ran into a lot of, like, the wrong people, like, you know, my age, like, you know, like, from like 18 now, as far as trying to figure my own situation out, being kicked out.
All right, now I'm gonna tell you why that's happening to you. Now, look at this. And that's so you can put it all together.
Yeah.
You might not be screwed up like them, but there's something in you, either low self-esteem, some type of naive behavior, where now the monsters is coming from Miss Little Red Riding Hood here. You hear me? So now where you're not feeling confident, you like now they coming for you because you have something that they want. Oh, she gonna do what I tell her to do. They want to take you from being naive, and they want to rob you of your innocence. So, like I said, there's still something in you that you're lacking, and that may be self-confidence. That may be looking up and saying, "I know it's a little more." I don't know. Like, I'm not necessarily like lacking like something. I think everybody's I'm like,
I'm like that. I kind of person like too much. Like I'm good. You ain't gonna mess with my family.
I'm not like that.
Me neither.
Like I don't complain.
I'm not play with my family.
Right. Yes, it is. You gotta be bold and you gotta
create some barriers.
You gotta be able to speak up and face people when something doesn't feel comfortable to you. Don't get it twisted, because I know I used to be all everything that somebody want. Okay, let's do this, let's do that. You know what I'm saying? But when you get to that point where now you telling somebody, get out, you know, go ahead, get out my face. Like now you getting confrontational because you defending yourself. So where once upon a time I was this innocent little kid, I ain't like no drama, I ain't like no trouble. But now I'm coming to school. Now I got girls pulling my hair. Now I got people trying to fight me. Now I'm getting people that pick on me. So now this innocent child that once upon a time would have never even thought to do any of the stuff that
that I became only because now I had to protect myself.
Yeah,
Because if I didn't stand up for myself, now I'm going to get bullied every single day.
Yeah, I was bullied a lot.
Exactly. So now because
From bully, you become an aggressor.
yes, now from being bullied, now I find myself once I got
You be
into
the
middle
aggressor.
school, now I'm fighting every day. Because you know what? I'm not gonna let y'all keep doing this to me. So now where I used to be getting picked on and all right, I'm ready. Whether I'm gonna get beat up, whether I'm gonna get jumped, whatever's gonna be the case, now we rocking. Because I can't allow for y'all to keep doing this to me.
And
I
it
didn't really
changed,
fight a lot in
it changed
school,
it
but
to
it was
the
something
person
like
that she
I
was.
as I
From a
was.
mild person.
Right.
to
Explaining you,
an
and explaining you
uptight
guys.
person.
I'm not sure how it would sound, but like I said, I was picked on. I was shy, quiet kid. Like like I was suspended. Like I say, a decent amount of times. I did night school before, out of school, in school. But as an adult, like I haven't been in trouble with the law. I know you were talking about the was it the prison pipeline? Like I feel like probably like for those people, it's probably like for like not saying the other way around. Like when they was in school, like maybe the teachers was more fair and they actually or they didn't get suspended, or if they did, it was something that really was bad or that they remembered. Like they didn't go through that in school where they feel like they were like not say like unfairly like targeted to be like are seen as a troublemaker, but then as an adult, they get that treatment like from like law enforcement.
Right. And that's what we fighting for now, is for basically that initiation that I told you was going to be put in that implementation. Now, before they go down to the police station, there are now either going to be registered down at the police station with a mental impairment, or we already going to have them on the list. So that task force will be coming out and they will be assisting them. They're going to be trained on what mental impairment, development, all kinds of things, because that's just basically what it comes down to, having them things going on. And the bully very well was bullied before, and they now consider being aggressive. But if you already have these family dynamics at home, which one of the clients that we had, parents suffer from OD, then now the bully had something over top of this child, and now this child now became suddenly mentally impaired because of the child's parents' family dynamics that happened at home. Now this child's being bullied at school. Oh, your mom passed away from drugs. She was this, she was that. Now this child that became instantly mentally impaired is now going to be an aggressor, and now is going to hurt people. So I had to step in and be the mediator and say, hey, this child has to go home and has to be put on homeschool for 2 weeks, so that we can go ahead and get to the root of the issue of this mental impairment is about to start. Because either we know now that it might start right away, months from now, years from now. But if we go ahead and we condition him right now, we won't lose him later on. Some child that was a family dynamic that happened at home. The mother passed away from OD. Clearly, the mother had a mental impairment as well. But don't make him out to be the aggressor when he wasn't the aggressor. He was just normally going about his. He was showing up to school every day. He's in fact here now when his mother just passed away. Do not do this to this child and make him out to be the aggressor when he lashes out, because it's only a matter of time. Because we just went over a neurological process of a child or a human being, and we know that emotions is starting from the inside, starting from the neurological, that the cells is degenerating. Once those cells finish degenerating and that child's mood keeps on changing, we know sooner or later he's going to come back for that bully. And based off of the circumstances, it might not be too good for that bully, but we don't want him out to be the aggressor.
Right.
So that's why I had to step in and be the mediator in that point and have to explain it to the school. We want this child removed on homeschool.
I believe we all
So,
into either the environment or circumstances, home environments, whatever, and then once that trauma come in or however it may be, boom, that's it. It makes you into a whole different person.
But with you
Yeah.
you have to start with forgiving yourself. You went through a lot of things in life that had nothing to do with you. It had all to do with what you took in. Because you just wanted to learn and be acceptance of what was going on, because you wanted to feel them and they basically in turn hurt you. So you have to start with healing and learning how to put them barriers up, but it's not your fault for being a human being and wanting to be that empath.
All right, guys, we gotta play this song. We gotta get out of here. We're on overtime.
It was something else I wanted to ask. I didn't know, like
that's why she gonna
hurry up because we gotta go off.
Like, what about people that's like
like workaholic, like don't laugh, like that's still
No,
That's something too. That's something too.
I'm a workaholic.
Like some
and
people,
it
they
comes from
work
financial
a lot.
independence.
Like I know I gotta work, like to take care of myself
Mixed
and
with
everything.
OCD, so
You know, but like they don't want to sit home
Yeah,
and think
fight the
about
fight.
like
That's
just
what
so like they
I'm
work
not
to keep
playing
busy.
music.
So I take flights. I'm always
Yeah.
working. I'm always traveling. I'm always doing something. Right? That's what it is.
It's a therapeutic thing.
Towards that, I'm like,
It's very therapeutic. So don't look at it like a workaholic. You just putting your energy into
So who?
something.
Let's have the birthday girl pull up the numbers. The number. You heard sis?
And we're gonna play a song.
Okay, we're gonna do the door prize.
You know what I mean? So it's like I can go on that.
Just give me yours. Don't give them
I mean, like face yourself.
On July 24th, 1982, at 8:22, her water burst. Do she know what she brought to this earth? I'm a gift and a curse, I'm fucked up, right? I'm gifted with words, but my life still different. I was wish that was. I understand shit now, I made it first. I pray God I even with the church. Good verse evil, I'm fighting my demons, about to go berserk. Nudge your head into your shoulders, I'll be gone until November. I'm leaving Earth, but before I go, my nigga, I can see you first. Just know my baby mom accept my mail. Bon voyage, I'm setting sail. I'm off the Richter scale. I'ma get to tell who gon' hit this L. Hard-headed niggas, they never listen well. You can dream upon a star or listen and wish you well. These balls, they raw like fish scale. To my dear beloved, rest in peace, Ronnie Brown. Before I tell, I'd rather burn in hell. They big ZD, nigga eat the shell. Yo, kid, you hit the hammer on the fucking well. I thought you knew, somebody should've told you. I did. I put thank you. I'm paranoid, I feel death coming closer. So I hope my healing go close. If that's your man, you better stand where he's going.
It's right across.
Don't approach us, niggas approach.
Word.
No script, no rehearsal. Off the flip, I'm so controversial. I remember pissing always my second night. Maybe I get this shit right in my second life. Had a small circle and I kept it tight. Nowadays you can't trust nobody. On the phone, don't discuss no rhyming. If you looking for me, you know where you can find me. Slang with my Grammys, I'm probably with a dime piece. So controversial, won't nobody sound me. All my real niggas show me love. All y'all hating ass niggas drag my name through the mud. This versus my life is written in blood. I'ma keep forgiving up. My mom said, son, your way you living sucks. Cause I fell in love with the streets and couldn't give it up. I know my niggas, they got my back right or wrong. My days got short, nights got long. I shed a tears just to write this song. It's gonna take my whole life just to right my wrong. This is dedicated to all my niggas gang gone. Just know through me you forever live on. Let's go. I thought you knew, somebody should have told you. My dog is so free, strength like a cobra. I'm paranoid, I feel death coming closer. So I hope my healing go closer. If that's your man, you better stay where you close to. Don't approach us, niggas.
I know I
No script with no rehearsal. Off the flip, I'm so controversial.
Y'all, please have something to eat. Baby, and now wrap it up.
Yes, thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Okay, guys, hold on. That was controversial. The artist was Dear John.
Yeah.
Dear John.
Shout out to Dear John for being in attendance. Shout out to Judah Priest for being in attendance. Even though
We gotta go. No, he had to go.
And
Thank you guys. Thank you everybody. Tasha, Josie, Crystal, Jacqueline, Lily. Everybody was in the building. Yes. And our Facebook user. Thank you guys. Stay here, baby.